Welcome, everyone. Dr. Stephen Hobbs here from the Wealth Movement. You're joining us on the Wealther series. And today I have Dr. Ulwyn Pierre joining me. And Dr. Ulwyn and I go back a few years now, and we've interacted on many topics. And she is actually helping me with some programming around the world at this point in time. But we've also gotten down into some really nitty-gritty topics. And I think it would be great for you to hear what she's got to share. But maybe you don't know who Dr. Ulwyn is. And what I'm going to do is just ask her to do a brief introduction to herself. And I'm going to pick up a few things as we go through this. So Dr. Ulwyn, you want to just give us a little bit about your background and how you got to be where you are today?
Okay, interesting. I'm Dr. Ulwyn. I'm originally from Trinidad. I live in Chicago. I thought I had a normal childhood, and I will talk about it. It's a normal childhood. And then I eventually found out it was not. Because what happened, I grew up in an environment where I lived leadership and I lived the transformation. It was a lived experience, and I am focusing on the lived experience because that is so very important. And I lived in a time when we were going through the transformation from colonial rule to independence, which our prime minister took us to freedom. And that's where I got that word freedom. And he made education free for all from kindergarten to your PhD, because he felt to be educated is to be free. And then he taught us that we were global citizens, and Trinidad is our address. And we need to push the envelopes of our lives and go out there and rock the world. So that is part of the background. But what kicked it off, really landed, was when I saw my father helping people who were in distress. I would see them coming in to see him. I was around 7 or 8, but I felt their pain. And then after a few minutes, it seemed like a few minutes, but after a few minutes, I heard laughter. And I wondered, wait a second, I'm still feeling the pain. Why should there be laughter? And I saw that again and again happening. And me, in my convoluted mind, I thought my father did magic. I liked the end result. And I was mesmerized by how that could have been done. And there was something, it landed in my soul. And I carried that with me because now I knew an outcome that I wanted to achieve. And I was going to create my magic eventually to be able to make such massive transformations in people's lives in a short period of time. And that has stayed with me until now.
And so you have found yourself moving away from your experience in Trinidad, and you did a little bit of traveling, you attended university, you did a few other things. So this concept of lived experience, you expanded upon that. So do you want to share a little bit more about some of your university work and some of the other work that you've done around the world?
When I left Trinidad, I did not leave that behind. That background and that experience is still with me today. I lived it with every other experience that I've had. And I went to University of Guelph, and I did my undergraduate degree in statistics and applied mathematics. And one would think that I loved it, but I felt it was a way of being able to be a powerful decision maker. And that has really been the path that I took. I looked at the skills and experiences of powerful people. And since I couldn't define what that thing I was doing, I modeled the kinds of skills and experiences I needed to have. So after I did my undergraduate degree, I found that, wait a second, I'm not a statistician or I'm not a mathematician. But I had to ask myself another question. Who am I? I lost me in the process of getting this degree. So in my perceived logical mind, I thought I was going to go out there and find myself. Needless to say, my father, who was also very logical, could not understand why I was going to Europe for 3 months to find myself. The only thing I had to do was to remember where I left me. But I did not take that advice, and I went shredding. I traveled shredding all the things, all the pretty clothes and all the trappings that one would want to have. Because I said, if I'm going to find myself, it has to be without the baggage. And I went through Europe and the UK for 3 months, t-shirts, jeans, which I never wore, and a backpack and a sleeping bag. And what I did not have an agenda. I just knew that I would learn from the experiences and that I would unfold. Because the best me was already within me. So it's just to let it unfold. And it really did. And I celebrated each step of growth. And I also celebrated each time I fell. Because falling is not failure, it's the refusal to get up. And I got up at each time. And when I came back, I was ready to rock the world. When I came back, I was living at the time in Canada. When I came back to Canada, I was ready to rock the world. And therefore, what I did is that I could remember that my father telling me that the only way that you know is if you teach. So from Guelph, I went to teach in a school where they labeled the students unteachable. I thought, man. And that was another growth spurt because I read about these kids, but now I had to teach them. And I was going to make sure that they learned because each one of us as a human being is born free with every single thing we need. And they had everything they needed, but nobody showed them how to tap it. And after great success in getting them, many of them went to 2-year colleges, some of them got really good jobs and paid out. I was ready to rock the world again. And I said, okay, I'm not going to do another degree in Canada. And I went to Columbia and I did my doctorate and MBA. I did my doctorate and MBA was because I found the educational system ran very slowly. And I wanted to be held accountable for something yesterday. So that was the business part of it. And I needed that business experience. And then I remembered that to be educated is to be free. So I did my doctorate in education. And therefore what it did, I melded together. And it had a nice balance of a kind of a holistic approach to being, living, and doing. And okay, and then I didn't want to, my next step was that I got invited to be part of a private group of leaders when I was doing my doctoral dissertation. I interviewed them. And as a student, I wasn't looking for anything, but we had some, once the recording was turned off, we had some really spicy talks about, why did you do this? What's going on? What's happening? And they felt that I had an edge and that I should not go to the corporations, but I should join their group and help them because they felt that the information I shared was unique and different. So I stayed there for 24 years. And that was an experience because I worked with global leaders, C-suite executives, ambassadors, celebrities, professional athletes. And I was able, had the opportunity to take them to levels beyond which they never thought they would achieve. And that's in the process of that, I was able to develop my magic, which I tested around the world, and it worked. Now, where am I now? Where I am now is that I have left the private arena because I felt after the successes I achieved in the confidential world, I felt that I wanted to make more of a profound impact on a larger public. And then I left the private sector so that I could begin to have people have the opportunities like anybody else to be their best self, because we were born to be our best self, to impact the world, and to really have a great life. And that is not happening. And I felt they called it the silent epidemic shrouded in shame. And therefore I felt, okay, so I'm going to go and attack it. And that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and I'd like to pick up on that a little bit later, because that transition from this private consulting into your current practice, and I know you've got a really wonderful name to describe that, and I'll leave that as a bit of a mystery to the next video. But what I want to really pick up on is the story, the earlier story, but it leaned a thread, and that thread becomes a string, that string becomes cords, those cords become rope, all right, around the concept of freedom. And you've used a couple of terms here, but I think I'll pick up on true freedom. So can you just, and another term you used was unfolding. So can you just unfold freedom and true freedom in your words, and maybe give us an example that we can sort of chew on for a little bit after the video?
Okay. Freedom. When I first heard about freedom, people talked about it as something that's external to you. I felt that freedom has no bounds. So how could it be external to you when the laws of the land and the norms and values of society impinge on you? So freedom had to be something where nobody could reach that unless you give them permission. And we were born with every single thing we need. We were born free, freedom of choice, free will. We were born with our innate genius. And when we talk about wealth, we were born with our innate wealth. We have every single thing we need. Yet we look outside of ourselves for the answers. And what it is that when I talk about freedom, if we are gifted with these things, it's a right, it's a human right. Why have we not learned to tap into it and leverage it to our best interest? We are not taught that. And that's one of the things I have done, is to help people tap into that power of wealth and genius that this is your right, and to begin to live life in the full expression. And when you do that, you're really living your true purpose. I think Mark Twain said the two most important days in your life was the day you were born and the day you found out why. That why is your true purpose. And when you could live that true purpose full out, you're going to have a meaningful life. You're going to be happy, you're going to be fulfilled. And you'll be making contributions that amaze you, not only to yourself, but also to the others outside of yourself. If you're a leader, to your company, to your community. If you are just a normal person, what it is to yourself, to your family, to your community, the lives of people you touch. And I found that was so fascinating. And I decided I'm going to find out, how do you do that?
And it's finding out how you can do that, because you also shared is like even your own trips to go find myself, to go, I call poke around in life, right? And really explore some of those topics. Like I've done my own, mine was around the word play early in my life. And what was play, and how can we bring play into our lives? I'm thinking you went looking for freedom and understanding freedom and bringing that into your life, which I think is is great. And there's an element of phrasing that you use that I think is just needs a little bit more, if we're okay with this. It's this notion of being human and born free. Can you just give us a little bit more? Because a lot of people now are listening to this, they're not thinking about their days when they were born, but maybe what we can do is just draw something in here to help people. Okay, I am here today, but hang on a minute. If I was born free, what does that mean?
You know, what I found is very interesting is how we begin to divide people up. We give them titles. We give them names that don't really define the power of who they are. Like the word minority, a human being cannot be a minority because a human being is 5/5 of a human being and a whole human being. You know, then they define the people by being tall and fat and this and what's good and what's bad. It is critical for us to know where we started. Who were we when we started? And when we started, we were born, each one of us, of equal value and worth. And no one could take that away. And so when people feel not enough, and when they feel less than, it's because they don't understand the substance and essence of what it is to be human. Because what they have done unwittingly, they have given up that birthright. So that is one thing. Because when you are rooted in that, nobody could shake you off your foundation. When you truly understand that, you know the power and wealth you hold. You know that no matter to the kings and queens or whatever it is as human beings, we have equal value and worth. And therefore, when I am speaking to you, chatting with you right now, I'm chatting to you, Dr. Stephen, as a human being of equal value and worth. And therefore, respect and those types of things come naturally because of who we are. You know, and I was telling somebody, when you hear babies when being born and cry, and you are not in that room, could you say, if someone is a girl or a boy or black or Hispanic or whatever? No, it's a human being welcoming themselves to the world. But then when they get into the world, they have to deal with all this, I would like to say dumb stuff, dumb and cold, dumb stuff that begins to distort them and have them fit into cultures that are ineffective and not being hide information from them. So they behave the way society defines them. And for me, that was not acceptable.
Yeah, the idea that you just shared, I think unpacks it a little bit, and I appreciate when you said, you know, we almost as we get older give it up, when in fact if we just reclaim it. And I'm not sure reclaim is the best word. I've used words like reimagine, rescript. I'll just use it at this point in time. But I think what this does is it sets us up for understanding a little bit more about some of the practices that you have created. And I think it would be worth us exploring those in another video, because I know there's the name and there's 1, 2, and 3 that goes with it. So let's unpack it for the next video. How does that sound? And then so good. People can see the series of what it is you've got to offer.
That sounds good, but I would like to end with saying to those who are listening, try it. You would like it. Being fully human, being free, having freedom of choice, and being in the driver's seat of your life and in control of your life. That's being fully human.
And with that, I'm going to encourage, if you're watching this video, put some comments below. let's interact. If you did give it a go, how did it feel? What happened? Let us know. We'd always appreciate hearing your thoughts. So with that one, let's get ready to do the next video in the series. And we're going to explore what Dr. Ulwyn created that I think is of value for all of us, no matter where we are in the world.